Welcome to the Thoroughly Wrong Project with Lalo and Bob. We appreciate you spending some time with us today. Let's jump right into that weekly dose of things you can disagree with. Take it away, guys.
Yeah, there it was. I think we're live, man. All right. Welcome to, where are we again? Man,
what do you mean?
You know, we've been doing this for a long time, and you've never, ever said, welcome to the Thoroughly Wrong Project.
Because it sounds so much better coming from you. So.
Welcome to the Thoroughly Wrong Project. I should fucking echo that, right?
You got that, like that announcer, like narrator voice.
Like Vin? That kind of guy?
How about that?
I was sorry to hear him pass, man. I've been listening to him really all my life.
Yeah, no, he was a big part of, I think, just baseball in general.
Yeah, but he did
not just the Dodgers.
He did football and a bunch of other shit too. I was sorry to see him go. It's like
he was there for so long.
It's a familiar voice, you know.
Yeah. He was there for like 57 years, I think. 57 or 67, one of those.
I don't know. As long as I've been there, as long as I've been walking around in this fucking planet, which is kind of cool. I mean, but have they got a replacement for him yet, or did he retire?
Well, he retired back in, I think, 15 or 16. So he hasn't been announcing like for a few years.
Okay.
But he's just like, he was just around like the organization, you know, like all the time.
I wonder if he was that fucking annoying old man that retires and then comes back and hangs around. You're like, okay, dude, really, go enjoy yourself. Get the fuck out of here.
Nah, I don't know. But he was old. I'm surprised. Like, he was 94 years old. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like most people don't even reach that far. So
I'm going to reach that far. I got 100 in me, man. Come on.
Well, I'm saying most people don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, he had been retired for a few years already, but he was still part of like the organization and involved all the time, you know?
Yeah. Well, he was like the voice of the Dodgers, you know? So
yeah,
well, anyway, I read about it. I didn't know much about the Dodgers. I've never been to a Dodger game. You were supposed to tell me how to do that and take me and hold my hand and all that stuff. You know, I'm afraid. It's the first time for stuff.
Just don't wear any like Giants attire or you might get beat up in the parking lot.
Really? People get fucked up in the parking lot because of that shit?
I mean, if they're drunk and like start yelling at Dodger fans and then drunk Dodger fans start yelling back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'd say the chances are pretty high. You hear about that guy that got like severely beaten like a few years ago?
Yeah, but I thought that was like an anomaly. It doesn't happen
well, I mean,
much.
Probably to that severity it is an anomaly, but I mean, there's fights at Dodger Stadium all the time. Especially with like when the Giants play and like when the Astros play. So
really? Houston?
Yeah, because they cheated. They cheated us out of a World Series.
Oh, okay. I didn't know about that either.
Yeah, they cheated in like 17, 18, and 19, I think. They were like stealing signs, like illegally.
Okay. Is that so? That's illegal?
Well, the way that they were doing it, they weren't like reading the signals. Like they were using cameras and stuff. It wasn't like gamesmanship, you know?
Okay.
Like they weren't just like picking up a tail or something like that. Like they had a camera set up like deep center field and they would relay like the signs to the dugout.
Oh, okay.
And then the dugout would relay the signs to the batter.
That sounds fair.
Nah. Like, because stealing signs isn't like illegal. I think it's just the ways you do it. Like if you're using electronic devices, that's when it's like out of line, you know? But if you have like a guy at second base, like just looking at the catcher, you know, and picking up like a pattern, that's like, that's regular like baseball, you know?
Yeah.
So
But
No, but yeah, but they're cheaters.
okay, so explain. You got to explain to me this. How, if you figure out the signs, how do you relay it quick enough? Like if the pitcher, the catcher does the whole two fingers down, and that's fucking a fastball.
Yeah.
How do you tell, and who do you tell?
So what they had is actually pretty crazy. They have like this whole like there's tons of videos on YouTube about it, but basically what they did was they had like a signal for fastball and a signal for an off-speed pitch. So an off-speed pitch is anything that's not a fastball. It's like a curveball or a changeup,
Okay.
So what they did was when they got like this, the code broken or cracked, and they knew what was coming, they had, of all things, they had a trash can in the dugout, and they would bang the trash can like right before the pitch came.
Oh, okay.
So then it would be like one bang for a fastball, no bang for an off-speed pitch.
All
So
right.
so they would be able to know like literally right before the pitch came. Because I mean, baseball is all about like timing,
Right.
when it comes to hitting the ball. So if you know a fastball's coming, you're sitting on it, you're waiting for it. If you know an off-speed pitch is coming, to like slow down a bit,
All right. And that
So
works?
it worked.
Oh, because they won
did
the
it.
series. Okay.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of videos. I'll send you one. There's like this dude that breaks it down really well, and you can actually hear in the live broadcast of the game, you can like kind of hear like the banging of the trash can.
All right. I had no. What would Vince Scully think of this?
Uh, I mean, he'd probably be like disgusted, especially since he was with the Dodgers. So,
Well, you can't trust people from Texas, man. That's just
but you
the
should
way
have
it
seen. I
is.
think it was the whole investigation came down in like 2019, and then in 2020, because after all that they found and uncovered, like the Astros basically got like a slap of the wrist. Like people wanted the title like stripped and everything.
Right.
Like it was that bad. But they just got like a slap on the wrist. So people were like mad, like fans, teams, like everybody. So
Is
the
this
next
laid
year,
out though? Is this laid out in the rules that
yeah,
you can't use electronic?
yeah, you can't use electronic devices of any kind to
Okay.
like enhance performance, I guess.
All right.
And they since they basically got a slap on the wrist the following year, like Astros hitters were like getting thrown at like every single game.
Okay.
Like they get hit every single game. So
But
it's kind
that's
of like the in-house justice.
but you give them the base, right?
Yeah, but I mean at that point, like teams didn't really care. They just wanted some form of like punishment,
Some form of retribution for.
Yeah.
All right. Was this as bad as Deflategate or whatever the hell that
The
was?
Flake is a scam, first of all. I just want to say that. Um, no, I'd say it was worse. It was more like, have you heard of Spygate with the Patriots?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was kind of like that. The Flagate was a non-issue. Like that was a joke. If you actually looked at like the reports and the findings and the science behind it, it's an absolute joke.
And well, you know what? I think probably a lot of Houston Astros fans are like, fucking, that was a joke.
The
You know,
Astros fans, they're just like cocky. They're like, oh, like we still got that ring.
well, they do.
Yeah.
They do. That's what are you going to say? If the league doesn't take care of it, I guess you could just pelt their fucking batters for a few years, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, and a lot of the players are like gone or like they got traded and stuff like that. So,
Well, yeah.
but I know that year after they uncovered everything, like they were all still there from like their championship season. So,
All right.
people like to call them the Houston Asterisk.
Houston Astros.
because they have an asterisk on their championship.
Does the record book have the actual notation though?
I don't think there's a record book like that
See,
though.
see, only in the fans' minds. I think you guys
I
need to
think that's
calm
all
down.
that matters though.
You need to calm down.
That's public opinion is the one that matters the most.
And you know what happens though is when the Astros come to town or when the Dodgers come to town, you sell more fucking tickets. And so in the end, Major League Baseball wins anyway. Because it generates buzz, and like the Astros are coming to town. Let's fucking go throw beer on them. And so you sell more tickets and more beer and more fights and more. So there's more capital generated because they cheated in 2017 or whatever it was. There you go. Isn't that what is most important about the entire thing anyway?
The
is the money?
commissioner, it's important, and like the owners, yeah. But some players, or a lot of players, actually have like integrity of the game, I guess, means a lot, you know.
Yeah. You
But to
spent
the
your whole
owners,
life
like the
trying to get
commissioner,
there.
that doesn't mean anything because if
it's
it did,
money.
they would have gotten a heavier punishment.
Yeah. Well, like I think it appears to me as time goes on and as I get older that things like that, it's all about money because like Pete Rose, man, he got his fucking head chopped off when I was a kid, you know, for doing that betting against, and he's still not in the Hall of Fame, and he's still not able to do
He'll
things.
never get in the Hall of Fame.
He'll never get in the Hall of Fame. But I imagine that some of the players who are on the Astros will be in the Hall of Fame 10, 15 years from now.
Maybe. That's hard to tell because a lot of the voters are like old-timey, like baseball, like people.
Right.
And for them, like integrity of the game means a lot. That's why Pete Rose isn't in the Hall of Fame. That's why Barry Bonds isn't going to get in.
Well, you would think, though, as the people who are voting get older, that would fall away.
Yeah, it doesn't. That's why, like I said, that's why Pete Rose isn't going to get in. Bonds, McGuire, none of those guys are going to get in.
Oh, because of steroids?
Because of steroids, yeah.
I remember McGuire. Man,
and I guarantee you there's people in the Hall of Fame right now that use steroids. They just never
got caught.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm guaranteed there's people in there that cheated, never got caught.
Yeah.
I remember Mark McGuire. That motherfucker was a monster. Dude, he was like huge. Yeah. All right. Steroids. Maybe I should try some.
That's the only time people care if you cheat is when you get caught.
Well, you think?
Yeah, because I mean, if you don't get caught, they don't know you're cheating, so it's like there's nothing for them to care about, you know. But when you get caught cheating, they
just hang you.
Yeah, like there's probably pitchers throwing at the Astros players that use like illegal sticky substance on their hands, and that's cheating too, technically.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Is Stickum still used in the NFL, or has that been?
No, I think that's been. People
banned?
Don't really use that just because of the gloves. Like the gloves are just so much better. Back then, people would like go barehanded, so they would use the Stickum.
Yeah, I remember the entire both teams being covered in Stickum by the end of the game.
Yeah,
so.
But now it's like the glove like technology is like so advanced that it's stickier to use a glove than to use Stickum.
It's pretty funny to watch some dude, you know, running full speed, reach out and just grab a ball with one hand.
Pluck it out of the air.
Just pluck it out of the air. It looks, you know, they're like, oh, check it out. And you think, yeah, that's some hella athleticism, but it's also some hella technology right there too, man.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's crazy how far sports technology has come. A lot of players in the NFL back then would also they would like cover themselves in baby oil.
Yeah, so you couldn't get a hold of them.
Yeah, so they just slip right off.
And the tearaway jerseys and all the shit those were fun, man. The 70s were fun years for sports. They really were. When I was a
Yeah, it's
kid, you know,
different
you got
era.
15 rounds. If you could stand up, you could continue to fight, that kind of shit. That was fun.
It
Watching,
was fun for the people, but as the fighters, it was fun. 10 years later when their brain is mush and they can't even walk.
listen, you have lots and lots of money and a nurse to take care of you. Thank you for your service. We appreciate it. Isn't that the same, Lalo? Isn't that the same? You want to go that route, and like Muhammad Ali and all the injuries when Boom Boom Mancini killed Duck Koo Kim in the ring, and all those things happened. But isn't that part of the sport at the time?
I don't think so because people didn't know that all that stuff would happen because of playing the sport. Like if you were to go back then and tell them like, hey, in 15, 20 years, you're going to have Parkinson's and you're going to have CTE and you're going to have all these like debilitating diseases. I guarantee you a lot of people would think twice about doing that sport.
I don't know. I don't know. There's something I read some books
Because I mean,
about.
even now, like when all this stuff is coming out, like all these medical reports and all these like findings, especially with things like CTE in football,
Yeah.
like it's out there now. Like people know about it. It's more common knowledge. There's a lot of like, especially like parents that don't let their kids play football,
Is that
like
right?
at all.
Well,
Even
I
me,
can.
like I think I would debate hard. Like I would push everything else on my kid first, like soccer, baseball, uh, basketball, all these other sports. I would like push them towards that before I would even think about having them play football. And I love football.
Well, I do too. I also love mixed martial arts and boxing and all the violent sports that
Yeah.
you know.
But I
But
also see like what happens to people. And I wouldn't want that for like my child.
yeah, you got though. I lived next to an ex NFL player when I first moved to Bakersfield. He played for Oakland Raiders. I can't remember his name now, but I talked to him. He played football in high school, college, and he played for the Raiders for like 10 years. And that motherfucker couldn't walk. And he said, I knew, he's like, I knew it. I knew it was happening to me as I was going downhill, but I'm not going to, I couldn't stop for the love of the game. He talked about the love of the game all the fucking time. So I guess maybe sports is kind of like the military, man. You sign up for it. There's certain things that are going to happen to you. That's a possibility you're going to have brain damage. It's a possibility you're going to have spine damage. Military, you're going to lose a limb or be dead. It's like, I think if you dedicate yourself to something, it really doesn't matter in the end. People can't keep you from doing it.
Yeah. But I think having as much like information as possible before making those decisions
Yeah.
is important. And I don't think a lot of people have that in sports and in the military. You know, like if
Yeah.
you tell fucking 18-year-old kids like, hey, yeah, you're gonna be here. They always tell them about the perks. Like, oh, you get the
Yeah.
signing bonus. You'll get to go to college for free. Like all this, all the
Yeah.
pros.
Money
But
for
they don't
nothing and your
say,
chicks for free, baby.
yeah, they don't tell you all the cons. Like, oh yeah, when you come back and your fucking leg is missing, like we're just gonna dump you on the street and never take care of you again.
And by the way, PTSD is a bitch, but it may or may not happen to you. Good luck. Here's your signing bonus. Thank you.
Yeah, here's your $5,000 signing bonus
Which is usually spent in a matter of
that
no
same
time.
day.
Yeah, you got T-shirts and a
That's a
Camaro,
down payment for a Camaro right there.
which you can't take with you when you get shipped out to
Exactly.
Germany. Yeah, I know, man. But let,
Like I'm all for like I don't mind people like kids playing football. Like well, one like little kids like pee wee football. I don't think should be tackle because that's just to me that's just stupid. Like these
yeah,
are like 10-year-old kids bashing their heads into each other. One, they don't know about like technique, like they don't
Right.
know how to tackle properly. So they're just bashing into each other.
Right. And they're clumsy and
And their heads are still like, their bodies still like undeveloped fully.
yeah.
And I have to like, I don't know for sure, but like doing all that and like bashing your heads that young, like that's got to do some sort of like damage early on. It's like when people work out like heavily when they're super young to
Yeah.
like stunt their growth. It's got to have some sort of like similar effect.
Oh, I
Um,
imagine.
so I'm all for like high school kids and like college and obviously pro like football players, but what I say is always like just lay out everything in front of them before they make that choice.
Yeah. You're going to have to lay out everything in front of a parent
Yeah.
because I was in fourth grade when I started playing for Wildcat Red, which was Tucson youth football. And it was full on, man. It was full on all pads, full tackling. Like I got my bell rung so many fucking times before I was, 12th grade. And then I broke my leg in 11th grade. I broke my femur and couldn't play my senior year. So,
And I guarantee you most NFL like current NFL players will develop some form of like CTE later
mhm.
in life.
I
Like
worry
it's
about it, dude.
it's almost inevitable at this point just because of the nature of the game,
Well,
you know.
I bet you that I had probably at least a dozen serious concussions before I was 18 years old. I mean, bell, when you've had your bell rung, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're confused and your head feels like it pressurized inside and you're like, God damn, and they say, they call it your bell rung because that's all you hear is like that. "Ee." And you're like, and the coach says, oh man, sit down there. And then, they check to see if your pupils are the same fucking size. And if they are, right back in the game, boy, go do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was like growing up. And then I worry about it, dude. I seriously, sometimes, every time I forget where my fucking keys are, I'm like, oh shit,
It's happening. It's starting.
it's starting. Yeah. But it's funny too. I search for words and I do a lot. It's funny. I shouldn't even talk about this. My fear. I do a lot of research on it because I want to. Alzheimer's runs in my family, number one, and then I had lots of head injuries when I was a kid because I was an idiot, and I forget words, I forget phrases and names, but that's normal from what I understand. So I'm not degenerating yet, thank God, but I think it could happen to me as I get older. It's a grand possibility.
Yeah, I
Um,
think
look at
like
Herschel Walker. I mean,
I did forgot a lot. No, yeah, it's pretty bad. I don't know if you ever heard of Demarius Thomas. He was a he's a fairly recent player.
sounds
He was a
familiar.
wide receiver for the Broncos.
Okay, yeah, I do know him.
He played like in the early teens, like
Mm,
2011 to like 2019 or 18, I think.
yeah.
He had a pretty good career. Like he was pretty good. He was there when Peyton Manning was there. He had a really good connection with Peyton Manning. Well, he retired. Um, I think yeah, like 2018 or 2019, he retired, and I guess he was like suffering from like seizures. Um, and then I think earlier this year, or it might have been late last year, he passed away, and they came to find out that he had a seizure like while in the shower, and he just collapsed and he died like right there.
Yeah.
And they just found him like in his hotel room. And then when they did the autopsy, they looked at his brain and they said he had like level 2 CTE, and his brain was just absolute like mush.
Oh man.
And and he was a wide receiver, like he's not like when you think of like somebody taking big hits, like he doesn't come to mind, you know. he like those type of players don't really. I mean, they get hit, here and there, but when you think of like big hits and like concussions, you think of like running backs or like
Yeah.
linebackers or like the linemen, those guys that are in the trenches like every single play.
Yeah. Yeah.
So from a receiver to like have that, level of brain damage, it's very like concerning for everybody else, because like if he was this bad, imagine how bad like other people have it.
Yeah. Any statistics on how many people are suffering from it after leaving the NFL?
Well, that's
Or,
hard to tell because CT is non-diagnosable until you're dead.
ah,
You can't diagnose it while living. And it's CT. What it basically is like a protein buildup in your brain. It's called, I think, the tau protein. I did a bunch of like reports on it, uh, like in college,
mhm.
because it was very like interesting to me, because as a football fan, like it was football related. So yeah, it's basically a protein buildup in your brain, um, and it's really like you can't detect it. You can't, no, you can't like MRI or you know, you can't see it until they cut you open and slice your brain and
All
look at
right.
it under a microscope.
So, so they're not going to do that to everybody that dies. So there is
Only
no
if there's like a reason to,
definitive there's no definitive number of how many people are suffering from this.
No, but I mean, it's very prevalent in, all those physical contact sports, and then obviously in combat sports like MMA, boxing, especially boxing,
Yeah.
because boxing is just like you're just getting punched in the head every time.
Yeah, really. I didn't know that.
And like football players, it's like you're it's like getting into a car crash every single day, like every
Yeah,
single play at
I've
work.
had that. Yeah, dude, I've been knocked fucking unconscious in in a boxing ring and not fun. This is after all the shit that I did in football. So maybe I'm gonna fuck. Maybe that's what's wrong with me, Jim. Is this Jim? Your name's Jim, right? No, I worry about it, but then again, at the same time, Lalo had a good life. I've had fun. I played a lot of sports. I got hurt a lot. Had some glory. Had some misery, some pain, all that, and those are good memories for me to getting the fuck knocked out of me and laughing about it. But those are
Yeah.
good memories. I think sports are better now. The helmets with the cushions and all the shit, and all computerized helmets, more or less. That's a good thing. So we're not going to have as many hurt people, but at the same time, I think when all the rules now that we have so people don't get hurt kind of took away from the sport itself. It's like, I know we're not barbarians, and I know we're not the Romans, and it's the thumbs down shit that we're going to kill each other, but it took away from it a little bit in my view. Your people are growing up without it now, so they don't know. But I've seen both sides. I've seen the people that just give their entire life to the sport until it kills them. You know, so I think it's a lot. We're back to it's a lot about money now, and how long can you last, and how much money can you make?
Yeah.
There wasn't you paid a lineman like $30,000 fucking dollars in the '70s, man, and that was it. And they played, and they had jobs during the off season. So you were playing for the love of the sport. Now I think people they just want the fame and the fortune and the Instagram and the money and all the things that come with that.
Well, I would say I still think there's a lot of people that like love football, Like there's people that have played it their entire lives,
Yeah.
and that's, it's who they are.
Yeah.
Like football is who they are. Um, and then on top of that, obviously they get paid, millions of dollars.
Hmm.
So for them, like if you were in their shoes, like there's, you're getting paid. It used to be like, oh yeah, I love this. I love this game, and they pay me okay, and then I could do other stuff like in the off season. But imagine now it's like I love this game, and now I'm getting paid millions of dollars to do it. Like there's no incentive to not do it,
Yeah. Yeah.
for a lot of people. But there have been some people that some players that like retire early because they like see the writing on the wall, and like, or like once they get to the NFL, like they they kind of come to like realization of what's down the line, because there's been some players that retire early, like in their prime sometimes, um, because of injuries, and not because of like career ending injuries, but because they know that these injuries are gonna like linger like later on in life,
Yeah.
like,
Cumulative injuries.
yeah,
Definitely. I
like
have
they
them.
want to be able to walk when they're 50 years old.
Yeah, definitely. I've got knee problems from football, and most of my problems are from that fucking car accident I had. But I still, before the car accident, I was 35 years old on bad knees, and I was like, this is from football, and I was kind of proud of that. Yeah, you are. It's like scars and injuries are just souvenirs you never lose, right? There you
Yeah,
go. I
yeah,
liked
'cause-
I liked it though. It was good. It was good to get hurt. It was good to not get hurt. It was good to win. It was good to lose, and all the friendships and all the things. It was fun. It was fun playing football, man. I miss it.
yeah, I think like sports are very like they're very unifying,
Yeah.
but I do think also that like certain sports are like you can still be on a team and win and like win championships and have that feeling of winning
Yeah.
without like killing yourself,
Yeah.
like there's plenty of sports out there for anybody. So it's I'm very interested to see like how sports like football or like MMA, UFC, boxing, how they change and how they adapt to more like public information, like getting out there, about long-term effects, and
Yeah.
if that affects like um, their influx of players into the sport, like in 20-30 years. Because like I said, there's a lot of parents that are like outright refusing their kids to play football because
Yeah.
of that.
I
And
don't think
obviously
I
the
would.
NFL tries to downplay it because of it affects their bottom line,
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's going to be very interesting for me to see how, if like the tides shift in any way, because I mean football is like the king of sports here in the United States.
Yeah. Multi-billion dollar industry.
Yeah, so maybe in like 30, 40, 50 years, maybe another sport like comes up and like starts itching towards that number one spot, I mean, it's hard to do, obviously, for any sport. I think even like the number two sport is like basketball right now, and that's like way behind still.
Yeah, I can see it now.
Like more people watch like Sunday night football during the regular season than the NBA finals. So
Yeah, yeah. I don't watch the NBA finals even. I don't watch the NBA. I don't watch any other sport really. I watch MMA. I always watch Ultimate Fighting and football. That's basically it. Because basketball can be on in the background, like what was that? The Sweet 16 or whatever the hell that is.
or March Madness.
March Madness. Yeah, I watched part of that this year, but it was on in the background while I was working out. But I'll sit down and watch fucking football.
Yeah,
Waste 3 hours of my life watching people play a sport. I know. I want to stop. I really do.
you
I'm
want to
trying to
stop
stop.
watching football?
I'm trying to stop watching TV. It's like a
Why?
drug, man.
Do you think
It's
you watch it like too much?
well, no, here's the thing. here's the thing. The way it works in my head is I have lots of things that I want to do. Like I want to be better at playing guitar. So, you know, TV takes away from that practice, and I want to write another book, which I'm halfway through, like 3 books. I'd like to finish one, but I can't because TV takes that time or work. I have lots of goals that are long term, and I think television takes away from that, especially mindless fucking television, which people get, man, dude, Lalo, people fucking berate me, Holmes, because I'm like, I don't know what any of these series are. What was that one with the dragons?
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, Game of Thrones. I've never seen a single episode of that. I watched I tried to watch Breaking Bad. It just makes me feel like I'm missing something when I'm sitting down to watch 9 seasons of some bullshit show. And maybe that, you know, I do approach it like that too. I approach it with the mindset of this is a bullshit show. So I'm entering into the arena with a bad attitude towards it to begin with. But I would much rather learn how to play Under the Bridge by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, which, by the way, motherfucker, I can play. So I'd much rather do that or perfect my technique with a White Stripes song, or I would much rather do that than sit down and watch television. So I'm trying to get the fuck away from it. And my television has become documentaries, historical stuff, and I watch a lot of political commentary. But as far as television, I have stopped watching everything except YouTube, more or less, where I can choose what I want to see. Is that
But
bad?
do you feel like you said you want to do all these other things
Mm-hmm.
instead of watching TV? You know,
Yeah.
like play your guitar and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, do you feel like is it a large amount of time that you watch TV? Because
Well,
if you only watch TV for like 30 minutes or like an hour a day, I wouldn't really say it's like, I mean, technically, yes, like you could be doing something else for that hour,
right.
but I don't think it's like inhibiting, like, it's like, I wouldn't call that, oh, you have a TV problem, you know?
Right, right. I don't feel like I have a TV problem. Like, you know, I'm coming home and turning on the TV and vegging out until I go to bed. I know people who do that, but when you're talking about 300 let's just take your hour, you know, 365 hours. Now imagine 365 hours of practice doing something that you're trying to perfect, like draw, or 365 hours of working on your book, or 365 hours of music. You think about that in my head, 365 hours of doing something meaningful to me is much better than just sitting here watching you know, I can't stand
Well, that
a
depends
laugh
if you
track.
find,
You
that
know, I
depends if
can't.
you find watching TV meaningless.
Yeah, I do.
But you do?
Yeah, it's just a waste of time. But certain television is all I'm talking about. If you watch the news for a half hour a day, that's fine. But I can listen to it as I'm driving. But if you're out there watching The Big Bang Theory and back-to-back episodes of fucking whatever, I can't even name TV shows anymore, Lalo, because I'm so far away from it. But if you're spending your time watching, you know, one-liners and ha 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 ha, and then one-liner ha 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 ha, it's meaningless. It's this drivel of it just numbs people to the point of where they don't even think anymore. They're just sitting there listening to the cue to laugh.
Well, for me, see, I wouldn't like. There's obviously people that have like problems when it comes to like TV. You know, like they'll
Hmm.
watch TV for like 6 hours a day,
Yeah.
and that's like an issue. You know, but if you watch like, you know, like one or two or like three episodes like of your favorite show, like, you know, as part of your like nightly routine or like while you're
Yeah.
eating dinner or something, I wouldn't say that's meaningless because I feel like that like that's like it does something to people, you know, like it's
Right.
providing like entertainment for them, you know, or like
Right.
maybe it's some sort of like, you know, like you mentioned like Game of Thrones earlier. Like
Right.
I've seen it, it's a really good show. So
That's what they
like
say.
you want to like it to me sometimes it's almost like reading a book, you know, it's like a story um that you're following along. So
Right.
you want to read ahead, you know, you want to see what's next. Like if someone told you like, oh yeah, I read this book for like the 45 minutes that I eat dinner, and then if someone told you, oh yeah, I watched Game of Thrones for those same 45 minutes, like you're kind of doing the same thing, but one of them has like a more negative connotation, you know? Like if you tell
I
someone, oh yeah, I read while I eat dinner, but oh that's you know, oh that's really good. Like that's a smart idea, you know, it's
mhm.
really healthy for your brain. And if you tell, oh yeah, I watch TV every time I sit down to eat dinner, like they'll be like, you know, it'll be more negative. When
Well,
to me personally, it's like very similar. Like I don't read, well, at least I don't read books, like nonfiction books,
yeah.
and even most fiction books. Or actually, I don't read any fiction, and I read some nonfiction sometimes. But that's mostly like articles. You know, I read articles more than anything. I haven't. I can't tell you the last book I read. And if I did, it was because I had to read it for like a class or something. I just don't read books. I don't
Okay.
find that like stimulating enough for me. Like I would get bored and half a page down and put it
Okay,
down.
but don't you think that I see the right way to phrase this. Don't you think that you don't read books because television has taken away your imagination? You can't imagine anymore. It's just fucking boring. It's just words on a page. Like for my daughter, that motherfucker reads all the time. I mean, that's all she does. She doesn't like television at all, but she loves to read, and I instilled that in her when she was a kid because I'm a reader. I don't want to be spoon-fed a story. I want to read the story or hear the story. You know, I listen to audiobooks a lot because I drive a lot, and I'm using my imagination to build the scenes and build the characters. And if you talk to a reader, sometimes they're like, I hated the movie that was based on the book because it didn't match what I had built in my head.
Yeah, you hear that all the time.
Yeah, so I think television takes away from our imagination and it takes away our ability to, you know, build a story in our own mind. And I,
But I'd say a lot of people don't really care for that. Like I don't care for that. Like I don't care for, you know, building like whenever I read some like I remember the last like actual like fiction book that I read and was like really into was like The Hunger Games when I was like I think in high school or something.
yeah,
Like I was actually like I wanted to keep reading because I really like enjoyed those books. And as I was reading, you, like you said, you imagine like what that world is like, you know, what
yeah.
that setting is like, and you know, you have these, you know, vivid images in your head,
Hmm.
and then you watch the movie, and you know, they tend to be different, you know,
Of course,
sometimes drastically different.
because the
Um,
director read the book and he has a vision that's different from yours.
right. But I don't like. I've never been one to be like, oh yeah, like you know, it's way different. Like you should read the book; it's a lot better.
Okay.
I just tell people like it's different. I mean, it's a book. Like they have all the time in the world to write out and like paint this super vivid picture. You know, this movie has, you know, an hour, 2 hours tops to like tell the same story. So
Yeah, from a
obviously,
600-page book down to an hour and 14
yeah.
minutes.
So obviously, there's going to be some like discrepancies, you know.
Yeah,
Which I mean, like you said, you could fault to you know TV taking away your imagination, like your ability to paint that same picture, you know. Because if you could make a movie based on a book that was like one for one accurate, that'd be like a 6-7 hour movie, you know?
Right, which is what that's what people explain to me that like Game of Thrones is.
Yeah, and I think that's what like TV series are because you have a lot more time to like, build characters and,
Yeah, I
do all these things.
well, at the end at the end of the day, I everybody's different, and I'm not putting anybody down. If you want to watch TV 6 hours a day, cool. If you
Well,
want
see,
to
that's
work
when
out 6 hours a day, cool. That's just personal choice, right?
yeah. But there is like that's when I would say that's like an issue, when you spend literally all day watching TV. Even if you spend all day working out, I'd say you have a problem of some kind.
Exactly.
If you do anything for that long, you should probably look into it.
Well, if you want if you want to be a doctor, you spend a large portion of your life, like 8 to 10 years. And if you want to be a neurosurgeon, like 12 to 15 years of doing nothing but. You go to school, you read, you live, you eat, you breathe that fucking thing until you are a neurosurgeon. And if you want to be a good guitar player, that's what you do. You come home from work, you eat, you sit down and you play. And I know plenty of people and plenty of stories about, country music stars and rock and roll stars. That's what they fucking did when they were a child. And no one said that was a problem. No one said, oh, you play guitar too much.
Because people see it as like you're building a skill.
Yeah, well, what skill are you building by watching Game of Thrones?
Well, I mean, what skill are you building while reading a book?
Lots, man.
Like what?
Well, you're more imaginative. You're building your vocabulary. You're better equipped to communicate with people. All kinds of things from reading.
Well, I feel like I can argue that TV can do all those things as well. Imagine you watch like Jeopardy every night.
I did. That was one of the things I gave up.
So do you not think Jeopardy could build like knowledge for people?
It does to a certain extent, but then a large portion of modern Jeopardy is pop culture. And what do I gain because I know, some pop culture nonsense? Nothing.
But I mean, you still like there's still a lot of things that like building your vocabulary, building communication. Like I think TV could do all those things as well. You're seeing how people interact on a movie or a TV show, and you could take that and translate that to your own personal, communication style or skill.
I can see
And
that.
I would say that's even better because you're seeing somebody else do it. You're not imagining how it would be in your mind. If
Right.
if you're reading a book about, a guy flirting with a girl, you're the one that's picturing, the flirting happening.
Right.
So you might influence what that looks like based on your own perception and based on your own like insecurities or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see it like on TV as someone else imagined it, it's going to be different. Like if you're a very shy person and you see somebody like just going up to somebody on a TV or a movie show and, start flirting with them or start talking to them, in your mind, you're like, I would never do that. Like that couldn't be me. I'm like too shy or like too insecure or whatever. But seeing that, maybe like over and over in different like movies or TV shows, you might be able to tell yourself like, oh, I'm just going to do it. I like, you're going to remember seeing that one movie and you're going to be like, you find someone that you're like, you think is cute or pretty or whatever. And you're just like, I'm just going to go up to them. Like so-and-so did in that movie.
Right. I could see that. But I would like to I would like to hook some people up to I forget what you call a CT scan and let them watch TV and then watch a movie, watch a documentary, watch a commercial, watch Jeopardy, and see which parts of the brain are firing up here.
Well, yeah, I'm sure like reading because it takes more. I don't know if brain power is the right word, but
Yeah,
like because you're having to like do all the work yourself, you know.
you're constructing you're reading the narrative, but you're constructing the world in your head.
Right. So I could see like that's more like brain intensive, I guess.
I'll
But
give you this. I'll give you documentaries and a good documentary and a self-help book. I'm sure you're going to get the same amount of information out of that.
yeah.
But as
Um
far as historical dramas and shit like that, I'm just not interested. I'm just not fucking interested in television anymore. And I grew up on it. I had a TV in my room from the time I was 5 years old till today. I still have it in here, you know. But
yeah.
it became a tool to me instead of a drool bucket, because that's what I felt like towards the end when I became aware of. I've been trying to play guitar here for years. I'm not progressing because I come home, I'm tired, I want to watch the news, and the news turns into the national news, and the national news turns into Jeopardy, and Jeopardy turns into Wheel of Fortune, and Wheel of Fortune turns into the FBI, and FBI is over at 10 o'clock, and I got to take a shower and go to bed. And that's what I did for years while the guitar sat in the corner. And the cool thing about what I've done, and I'm not saying everybody can do it, I'm just saying for me, I put the television down and it got canceled because the guy stayed up all night working on the song. I was supposed to be in the studio this morning playing a bass line for a guy's song. So
Hmm.
what happened to me is I put TV down and it put me in a fucking studio, man. The thing that I wanted to do all my life, suddenly I'm doing it because I rearranged my priorities. And I'm not saying I put TV down for good. Like it was last week, there was some tournament of champions and one dude that I used to watch on Jeopardy was on it. And I was like, fuck, that's cool. I sat down and watched it. I made it through 20 minutes before I turned it off. I was like, this is not for me anymore. I've just changed my way of concentrating on myself instead of being entertained. I am working now. And that's what I
Yeah.
like about it.
Yeah. Well, what I would say is I think all those things like, you know, TV, reading, you know, your guitar, they all kind of served, at least initially, like the same purpose, you know? Like those are like outlets for people, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Like
That's
you get
a good
home
way to
from
put it.
work and you're drained, so you just want to do something that you personally like enjoy. And
Yeah.
that thing is different for many people. And I would say that some, you know, outlets are more uh, productive, I guess, than
Yeah.
others.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
like guitar playing. Like, you could go out and, play a song for your friends. Like, hey, look, you guys, what I've been learning the past, 2 months.
Yeah.
But I would say that I don't fault like certain outlets for not being productive, you know?
Right.
Like,
Capitalism has done that to us, man.
yeah, like
If it's
even
not
like reading a
productive.
book, to me, like if you're reading like a fiction book, like that's to me that's not productive, you know? Like it
No.
doesn't produce anything. It just here's a story and I just know the story now. Just like a TV show, like oh there was
Right.
a plot in the movie and I just know how that movie goes. And I could recommend it, like, hey, I watched this movie last night. You guys should watch it. Hey, I read this book. I just finished up this book last week. You guys should read it.
Yeah.
Um,
It's the same thing. I played shuffleboard last week and I really enjoyed it. Would you like to go? There's
yeah,
nothing productive about that. But there
right.
is certain, um, what are we going to call 'em? Like social skills everybody who reads gets together. Everybody who podcasts gets together. Guitar players talk to each other, you know.
Yeah, so they're productive like in that way, in that
Yeah.
sense, you know, if you take it to like that next level.
Yeah.
There's like book clubs and movie clubs, you know.
Well, here's Lala, here's the thing that I've noticed. And when I say I play guitar, nobody, you know, everybody's like, well, that's cool. When I say I don't watch Game of Thrones, I have been, you know, verbally attacked because what the fuck is wrong with you? Seriously, this just happened to me last week. Somebody called me abnormal. It's like, that is not fucking normal if you don't watch TV. You know, I'm like, so
I mean, if
I'm
you
not
think about
attacked.
it is abnormal, just because that's the norm.
Sure.
So anything
sure.
outside of that would be abnormal.
Right.
It's like when they first invented cars, and you were one of the first people to buy a car, and everybody else was still on horse carriages.
It's like, you're a fucker. What kind of a weirdo are you zipping
Yeah.
by without a horse?
If you go and be like, oh yeah, I ride my horse to work every day, you'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
What the fuck is wrong with you?
You know, they'll tell you carrots are a lot cheaper than gas. So, but you know,
Why do people feel that? Here we go. Why do people feel threatened though that I don't
I
watch
don't think
TV?
they feel threatened. I think it's just like
Stop
more
watching TV,
surprising.
man.
It's just
Do
surprising.
No,
I don't
seriously.
really watch all that much TV, to be honest.
I mean, tell people when they're, you know, say you've never watched Game of Thrones and see how their reaction is. I'm not interested in Game of Thrones. Watch the reaction.
I mean, I've told because I got on the Game of Thrones bandwagon like super late. Like the show was already over
Yeah.
when I started it. So I mean, that was me like for a long time. Like it never interested me. You
Right.
know? Just because I've never been a fan of like anything in that like era,
That genre.
that genre of like dragons and like medieval stuff. I'm more of like sci-fi and like futuristic stuff and stuff like that, you know.
Okay.
So it never really caught my eye. But then I think it was like during the whole quarantine thing is when I picked it up, and it's a really good show. It's there's a lot of you know, like plot twists, and the plot and the character development's like really, really well.
Yeah, I
It's a
know.
really good show. It's probably one of my favorite shows, but you know, I did come across people that would tell me like, "Oh my God, like you haven't seen it, like you're missing out," and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say I was like ever like attacked or anything.
I have been, and it's because I say things like, I don't give a fuck about it. I don't care. I don't want to watch it. And they're like, no, you have to watch it. You're not normal. Like, okay, I'm not normal. Do you know the bass line to fucking like Under the Bridge? I can do that.
I think a lot of that comes from people like they're remembering how satisfying it was for them,
Yeah.
and when you tell them that you've never, you know, watched that, it's almost like they know that it's almost like they think that you're like missing out on something,
Yeah,
and they want
exactly.
you like to be a part of it.
Or
No.
they feel a little threatened at
And
two.
that happens with everything. Like, hey, like you ever tried this, you know, pizza from this place? And they're like, no. They're like, oh my God, you haven't tried it. Like,
Oh
you
my
have to
God.
try it.
I
You
know.
know?
And then I say, oh, no, I can't. I'm a vegan. And they're like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? Right?
Yeah.
That's the way it happens with me, because I guess, dude, fuck.
I think that just boils down to like having a sense of like, almost like a sense of like community, you know,
Yeah.
and you want to talk to them about that show, or you want to talk to them about that food that you ate, you know?
Can I take it in a different direction for just a second?
Yeah.
When we know that watching less TV is good for us, when we know that eating right is good for us, when we know that exercise, taking a walk every day is good for us, or getting enough sleep, or not doing drugs, or not drinking alcohol, and there's all these things that we fucking know because of science that we should be doing if and only if we want to extend our lives. So when you run across somebody who's like, I don't watch TV, I try to read every day, I meditate, I'm a vegan, that becomes almost a threat to us, because I felt it too. Before I started doing all the things I'm doing now to prolong my life and make myself feel better, I felt it too. It's like you exercise a lot, you eat right, it's not as threatening as it is. It makes me feel bad that I'm not doing it. I should be doing it. And I think that's what I get a lot of pushback against my lifestyle now, but I only get it from my old life. The people that I'm in contact with now, all the vegans that I hang around with and trade recipes with, and whatever we do, get together, play guitar, I get a lot of it. I feel support from them. And I think that threatens a lot of people. And I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm not saying like I'm fucking Superman and you need to be doing something. Whatever choices you make are whatever choices you make. And I don't feel threatened by Flea. I don't feel threatened by Geddy Lee, I want to play bass like these people, but I know that my level of skill will never be that. But I don't feel threatened by it. It just makes me want to practice more. But that's because I take challenges like a healthy lifestyle as a challenge and not as a threat to my, I can't communicate with this person. So a lot of people feel threatened when they come up against people who are doing healthy things or things that are good for them. And
I think for most people, it's a challenge, not so much a threat, because, if you tell someone like, hey, I don't eat meat at all,
right,
like ever, to them, that's more like, to them, as soon as you tell somebody that, the first thing they think of is trying to put themselves in that position.
Yeah.
The first thing they say is, I could never do that.
I could never do that.
So to me, it's more like that's something that's like insurmountable to them, like I can't do that. That's way too challenging for me,
right.
So I wouldn't say it's a threat. I mean, maybe to some degree it is a threat, but I would say more of it is like it's a challenge for them to do that, It's like if you tell someone like, hey, I do P90X every day at 4 a.m. What's the first thing they think of? They think of themselves doing that. And
they think of themselves getting up. Yeah.
And they're like, no way in hell, bro.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is for most people. Like when you tell them something that's, quote unquote, abnormal, a lot of times they think that because they picture themselves trying to do that. And they know themselves better than anybody. Like
right.
When people tell me, like, oh yeah, I work out at like 5 a.m. before work, I know myself. I know I'm not a morning person. Like I can't do that. I've tried it like multiple times.
Yeah.
But it just like, I can't stick with it. So I wouldn't say like, so when someone tells me like, hey, let's go work out like in the morning, I don't see it as a threat. I see it as a challenge. And I'm just like, nah, like I've tried it,
Yeah. I got up I worked out this morning already.
Yeah, see,
and like I got it again.
I woke up like 30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Or like 30 minutes before we started.
Right.
I'll probably go work out after this though, because I like to like eat and then wait like an hour and a half for like the food to like give me energy, and then I'll go work out.
Oh well, I fast until noon, and I like do 2 workouts on top of that. And
I've
then
heard
I have
that
a nice
fasting
vegan
literally
meal.
does nothing for people.
Does it?
I mean, when it comes to, maybe it does something when it comes to like your metabolism.
Yeah.
Like adjusting it. But when it comes to, I know a lot of people try to fast for like weight loss, and weight loss is like, I was going to say weight loss is the easiest thing, but I mean it in the way that the way to lose weight, it's a very simple formula.
Yeah.
Very simple,
Less calories in, more calories burned.
Yeah.
Done.
Like that's it. That's all you have to do.
Uh-huh.
So you could not eat the entire day, and then you could eat 2,000 calories for dinner. And that's, if you're trying to lose weight, that's the same thing as eating 2,000 calories throughout the day in like small meals. So whichever one you do, at the end of the day, you're gonna have the same outcome,
Yeah.
pretty much.
It may be a placebo effect, but I've been fasting. I fast from 6 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock whenever I finish my meal till noon the next day. I I wake up earlier. I wake up less sick into my stomach. I don't. I I feel better.
I would say I unknowingly fast during the week because I'm not, one, I'm not really that big on breakfast. And then during the week when I work, like I don't eat breakfast.
I never
Like
do.
I don't think of like, hey, let me get a breakfast burrito on my way to work. Like I'm too like, I don't know, tired or like
That kind of
lazy to
made me
get
gag a
breakfast.
little bit.
So like I really don't eat till lunch, so like noon. I'll just like drink water or whatever.
Do you think
So
it's possible? Do you think it's possible that you could become a morning person?
no, because I stay up late, like on purpose.
What if you stop staying up late?
But I do a lot of things late at night, so I don't think, at least not right now in
What if
life.
you
Maybe
switched
later
all
on.
those things you're doing late at night to early in the morning?
Um, well, see,
You-
that's hard because a lot of those things that I do, like go out, like sometimes, or um, like I'll play with my friends, like online, like
Okay.
video games and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be like, hey, can you guys get on at 10 a.m. instead? You know,
All
and
right.
that's really the only time I play like video games is like with my friends. It's hard for me to like play like by myself. Like I just get bored and distracted. So it's more like of a social thing,
Yeah.
for me. Like I like talking and like interacting with my friends. So, and they're usually all get on like around the same time because
Okay.
they're
So,
kind of like me. Like they do a bunch of shit during the day, work and work out and just, have their life going on. And then they come back home at like, 9, 10, 11, and
so
they get
what you're
on
telling me
game.
though is you are choosing this. And my question was, do you think it's possible for
Well,
you to adjust your lifestyle and become a different person and just become a different person?
yeah, but to me that would change like certain things that it's like I would sacrifice, you know, hang out and like talking and like playing with my friends to waking up early to, like work out. But it's
Right?
not like I'm not working out now.
Right?
I just work out at a different time. Um, so I don't like, is it possible? Like, can I do it? Yeah,
Yeah.
I could do it. But is it possible in the sense that it would work out for me like in my current like routine? No.
So you don't think you would be a better person? You'd just be different.
No, I would just be a different person. If
Okay.
anything, I would say, I wouldn't say worse, but I'd be missing out on more things that I enjoy doing. That in that, 1 or 2 hours that I wake up earlier, like, yeah, I could work out, but then I lose out on like other stuff that I think are more valuable.
All right.
But even now, like I said, I don't work out right now, or like during the week, I'll work out like after work. At least that's what I'm like trying to do. So it's not like I still get it all in, just at different points in during the day.
That's cool, man. Um, I I think that people. I wanted to ask you that question because you said people put themselves in that place of like, I'm not going to eat meat, and can I do that? I don't think I can do that. So they shoot themselves in the foot, and it's not just veganism, and it's not just reading or playing guitar. It's people know that they could do better than they're doing. And I think we're all made out of the same thing here. And when I tell people who know me now have no fucking clue what I'm talking about because if you go back when I was younger, I like I've told the story before. I've gotten fights with my spouse about you put fucking meat on the table because a meal's not a meal without meat. I could not imagine waking up early. I tried to get jobs close to my house, Lalo. So if, I could hit the snooze button 35 fucking times, wake up at 5 minutes to 8 and be there on time. Yeah. And that I live my life like it seemed like the world was in control of me and guiding me and telling me what to do. I just made these choices like my time is my time. And if I get up early, no one's awake and that there's no distractions. And if I want to read or play guitar quietly or work out and all the things that I am trying to do with my life, when I was your age, if somebody would tell me that you're going to get up early and you're a complete whole food, plant-based vegan and you work out every day and you read and you play guitar and your life is very focused, I would have laughed, dude. I would have said, no, there's no fucking way. But I know that people are the same. I'm made out of the same shit that my wife's made out of, that you're made out of, that anybody's made out of. And we all have the ability to say, I'm going to choose a different life and make it happen. And it may take years, but you can still do it because we're all the same.
Yeah. And that's why I said, like, right now in my current, like, routine, like, I wouldn't be a morning person, And
Yeah.
I have tried it. Like, I've gone to the gym, like, 6 a.m. for, like, a few weeks. And then I kind of just, like, fall off.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to maintain. Because what I would do is I would do the waking up early until I go work out and stuff, but I would keep the other stuff. So I would keep the staying up late,
So you're wearing yourself out.
Yeah. So I didn't like trade it off. So
That's not really an attempt to become a morning person.
wait, well, I was waking up early, so I think that's the biggest factor of being a morning person is being up in the morning.
No, there's several factors here, bro.
Yeah, but
One of them is going to
that's the
bed.
biggest factor.
Yeah, but those two things fit together like puzzle pieces. I'm going to get up earlier, which means I'm going to go to bed earlier. That's how that happens.
Yeah, sometimes I do, not always, but.
And you're a psychology student. You know that 2 weeks of doing something is nothing.
Right, but I also know that, like, if you want to, like, better yourself, whatever the thing that you want to do to better yourself is, if you want to, read more or, like, oh, I want to start working out or eating healthier, like, it's also good to do it, like, at your own pace,
Absolutely.
or do it in your own, like, routine or setting. Try to incorporate it so that it's not a big, like, shock to your life,
Yeah.
Like, hey, I've never worked out a day in my life. Tomorrow I'm going to start military boot camp. Like, no one does that, You're setting yourself up to failure.
No, when you go in the military, that's what happens.
Well, most kids
You're
that go in the
forced
military
to it.
haven't not worked out for, 30 years. So, but, like, if you say, hey, I want to start working out, and once you decide that and you start thinking about, like, hey, when am I going to work out? And you say, oh, well, I get up early as it is. I could do it in the morning before work
Right.
or before school. Like, that's fine. That's great. And that's usually how people, begin that lifestyle and that pattern.
Right.
Or if you say, hey, I don't really have time, I got to get the kids ready. But I have time, in the middle of the day when I'm home alone and all the kids are in school, then I'll work out then. Like, you're still doing that thing that is bettering you, but you're doing it, like, almost on your terms,
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing. You don't have to, like, fit into a certain, like, box or, like, a mold, It's not like everybody that works out at 5 a.m.
Right.
There's people at the gym at, like, midnight.
But
You know,
you know who's friends with people who work out at the gym at 5 a.m.? People who work out at the gym at 5 a.m. I mean,
yeah,
that's their group.
yeah. And I mean,
I,
you could go to Planet Fitness at midnight, and there's people there,
yeah, and that's
and you
their
could
group.
ask them, like, why are you here so late? And they'll tell you their reason.
Yeah,
Like, oh, I work all day, so I'm up all night, or this is just the time I've always gone.
yeah,
So like, and they're still doing the same thing. Like them and the 5 a.m. people, like they're still achieving or working towards their goal, of being in shape or maintaining their healthy lifestyle.
yeah.
So
I'm just the exact opposite, and I attack shit like a fucking hungry lion. I don't know why. If I want to start working out, I will start. I mean, my wife said yesterday, she goes, she hasn't worked out for a few weeks, but she's getting over being chronically ill. And she goes, I'm going to start Monday. And I said, what's wrong with right now? And the look on her face was one of hate, rage, understanding, and fuck you. And you know what she did last night? She worked out. So I think people, like you're right, people have to do it at their own pace, but you have to recognize you have to recognize when you're setting yourself up for failure. And that's soon, someday, Monday, next week, first of the year, first of the month. Those things never work, man. They don't.
well, I would say that's setting yourself up for failure if you like repeatedly do that. If you say, hey, I'm gonna start working out on Monday, and then you actually start on Monday, like that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you like keep saying that and not doing it, that's when you're like hurting yourself. It's
Yeah.
like when you say you keep saying you're gonna do something, you don't do it. That's different than I'm gonna say I'm gonna do this, and then you actually do it.
Repeated failure is one of the things that takes people down psychologically. I've tried it and tried it and tried it and said I'm going to do it and said I'm going to do it. And you just have to jump in some shit. Sometimes you just have to leap. It's like you really can't learn to skydive unless you fucking jump out of a plane. And there's no, you can take all the classes you want about driving, but until you start driving, you're not going to get the feel for it. So to say I'm going to do it Monday is just usually an excuse for I'm not going to do it right now. And Monday is still right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always putting shit off. And that's why we need trainers and people who get up early and people who exercise like fucking fanatics. And that we need all kinds of people. Everybody should rely on everybody else. And instead of this divisions that we have, like, I'm not going to do that because that looks hard. Why can't people like me talk to people with respect and help them and motivate them? And why can't people on that side look at me and say, okay, you're what a lifestyle that I'd like to have. How do I do that? We attack each other too much.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times that comes off like in a different way for a lot of people.
I know. People think that
It's hard to
I hear
like,
it.
yeah, it's hard to like say, um, like if you were to talk to like any regular person and tell them oh yeah, I'm a vegan, and try to
Yeah.
give them all these like pros and like health benefits and reasons why it's a good idea. Um, they're just gonna think that you're like,
Arrogant.
yeah, not so much arrogant, but like that you're like berating them, like you're wrong, I'm right, and it's really hard to get any
Oh.
sort of message in that way like across that's more like motivating.
And that's what takes me back to what I was saying earlier. People think I'm attacking them. They feel attacked. They feel less because they take my I'm a vegan as an attack. And it's not. It's not at all. And they take my, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I work out twice before I go to work. Oh, that's something I couldn't do. And they feel like I'm telling them they need to do that. But I'm with you. I'm like, I would like to see people drink water more, exercise more, get better sleep, eat better. But I would like to see people do that on their own fucking terms, man. Everybody can't be Tony Horton, and everybody can't be, whoever these fucking people are. They're just, I guess, not heroes to me, but they're like examples of what I could be. And that's not threatening to me. That's like you said, that I take that as a challenge. If I want to be 65 years old and have a body like fucking Tony Horton, it's a lot of fucking work, man. But you know what? It's possible. I don't consider it impossible. And I don't consider it a threat. I just consider it to be like, if I do X, I can have that. And even, well, no matter what X is. If I practice guitar 8 hours a day for the next 5 years, I'm going to be a fucking expert guitarist. There's no way that I'm not going to be.
Yeah.
So if we put in the work, we can get the results. The thing is, it's the work we're afraid of. It might take away from our enjoyment. But what if my question to everybody I always ask is, I enjoy the work. So what does that make me?
Yeah, I think at that point you have to people's priorities come into play,
Yeah.
Like, do I value, me being able to play the guitar more than, the painstaking hours of practice it's going to take for it to get there.
Right. Do I
For some
want
people,
to
it's
learn how to
yes.
play guitar,
Some it's
or do I want to go to work and talk to my friends about Game of Thrones? Okay.
I mean,
No,
you kinda
I'm
have
not
to
being
go to work.
facetious. I'm not
You
being
kinda have to go
facetious
to
at all.
work, 'cause-
Right. But like when I was at the county, I had Robert Dews. So when I went to work, we talked about guitar and music and all the things that I was interested in. And then I talked to several people there about being a vegan. One of them was Dews. Dews is vegan. And several people were trying, and then people came to me and asked me about exercise. That's the kind of life I wanted to live. Not, dude, did you see that fucking dragon? Wasn't that awesome? See, I'm not berating it. It's just, I have absolutely no interest in television. Again, I'm more interested in hanging out with people who like to podcast, like you, my friend, and guitar, like go to Dude's house. Those are the people I want to hang around with. I'm just not interested in
the Game of Thrones.
the Game of Thrones or Breaking
Show
Bad or whatever.
Hey, Breaking Bad's the greatest show of all time.
Is it?
It is.
Okay.
That's a.
I liked
objective
Roots.
truth.
Roots was good. That was 1976.
I've never even heard of that.
Roots was a television show about slavery, and it was a very, very first show that depicted slavery as fucking slavery, and it was awful.
In
The
76,
beatings.
That's
In
pretty
1976, yeah. Look it up. It's called Roots. The writer was named Alex Haley. He claimed it was his genealogy, and it took off, and everybody read it, and everybody watched the series, and everybody was talking about rights, and slavery was wrong, and it woke people up. And then the thing that happened is Alex Haley got
murdered.
No, he got exposed. He just wrote a fiction book and then claimed it was his genealogy, so it took away from it. But at the same time, he wrote a historically accurate depiction of slavery.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I thought you were going to say he got murdered. I was like, yep, that sounds about right.
Oh, that sounds about right. No, this was 1976, not 2020, man. We didn't murder him back then still. Well, dude, it's been a good one. Actually, enjoyed it. Hour and a half. Who the hell's going to hang on for this one?
You don't enjoy the other ones.
No, I enjoy
So
all of
you
them.
actually enjoyed it?
I actually enjoyed it. Okay. All right. Fuck off.
I always pay attention to the way people say things.
I know.
It gives you usually more information than the words they're actually saying.
It also gives you ammunition to attack them. That's basically what you're looking for.
And I always got to have a contingency plan. So
Plan B.
yeah.
All right, man. Well, watch less TV this week. Give it a shot.
I mean, like I said, I don't really watch all that much TV.
Well, pick up a book this week.
That's probably not going to happen.
Well, I'm going to go read my book. I'm reading a book called Jump right now. Dare to do what scares you in business and in life. That's the kind of book.
I thought it was like a fiction book.
No, I don't read fiction.
I was going to be like, is there a movie about it? I'll watch that.
The last fiction book I read was something by Stephen King, and it's probably been 20 years. I stopped reading fiction a long time ago when I got serious about college because I didn't have time to read anymore. I had to read all the fucking stupid books, and then that led to philosophy, which led to self-help, which led to psychology, which now I don't like. I don't want to be entertained anymore. Life's too short to be entertained. Unless it's sex. That's entertaining. I like that.
I feel like if I ever do read anything or start to read anything, it would be like fiction, just because I feel like reading like nonfiction or like self-help books, it's very like, to me at least, it's very boring.
Yeah?
Like it's just incredibly like dull.
Wow. I don't think we can hang out anymore.
So I would rather read like a really cool story.
All right, read Stephen King's The Stand. It's only like 1,100 pages. You should.
The Stand.
Yeah, it's a really good book. It's about the end of the world.
No, I like that kind of stuff. So maybe
it's pretty sci-fi, dude. So I'm gonna go work out, man.
Again?
It's time. Yeah, I do 2 a day. I was doing some reading and actually was practicing guitar before we were. I was gonna work out twice, and then I saw that bass in the corner, and I was like, well, I'll just do it for 5 minutes. That turned into 35 minutes, and then I had to get ready for this. So I got one more to do. It's going to be a good day.
All right, man. Sounds
Have a good week at the county, brother.
I'll try.
All right, man.
All right, man.
This has been Bob.
And Lalo.
And this has been the Thoroughly Wrong Project. And while we didn't talk about much that could have been thoroughly wrong, if you felt threatened, maybe you should change your life. See you next week, man. Later. You have now experienced the Thoroughly Wrong Project with your podcast hosts, Lalo and Bob. We can now be found on Pandora Radio, Apple Podcasts, Podium Podcast, or by searching The Thoroughly Wrong Project to locate our YouTube channel. You can contact us directly by email at thoroughly-wrong@gmail.com, or just leave a comment on any of our platforms. Until next time, thanks for spending your valuable time with us, and remember, always speak up and never be afraid to be thoroughly wrong.